The 2019 draft was filled with talent from every position. However, the 49ers easily had one of the biggest steals of the draft, snagging two-time Pro Bowler Deebo Samuel with the 36th pick. His unique style of play was visible his second year in the league, with 1,405 receiving yards, 365 rushing yards, and 14 total touchdowns. But who were the 35 players selected before him? And do they regret their decision to pass on him? I'll leave that for you to decide. So let's start with the first pick of the 2019 NFL Draft. The Arizona Cardinals selected Kyler Murray, former Oklahoma star, which was an easy pick for them since they badly needed a quarterback, and Murray was on another level than the rest of the quarterbacks in this class. In 2020, it looked like the Cardinals hit the jackpot, with Murray putting up 3,971 yards and 26 touchdowns, along with 819 rushing yards and 11 touchdowns. He already made the Pro Bowl twice, but in 2022, he suffered a torn ACL, prematurely ending his season. When he came back mid-season in 2023, he showcased again why he was the #1 pick. And with the Cardinals having 2 first-round picks this upcoming draft, this team is a serious dark horse for 2024. At the second pick, the 49ers selected defensive end Nick Bosa from Ohio State. Many people believed Bosa had the most talent going into the draft and thought he was a steal, even as the second overall pick. His rookie year, he showcased just that, winning Rookie of the Year with these mind-boggling stats: 47 tackles, 32 of them solo, 16 tackles for a loss, 9 sacks and 1 interception, 2 pass deflections, 2 fumble recoveries, and 1 forced fumble. Even though he suffered a season-ending injury in his second year, he was able to continue his dominance the following year and easily is considered one of the best defensive ends in the league. At the third pick, the New York Jets selected defensive tackle Quinnen Williams from Alabama. This pick did not look promising at all during his rookie season, where he ranked 71st against the pass and 33rd against the run. But then something clicked for Williams. He was just one of 5 defensive tackles to finish in the top 15 at the position in both pass rush and run defense during his second year. But that was just the start of Quinnen's dominance. In 2022, he had a career-high 12.5 sacks and 28 quarterback hits. This past offseason, he got rewarded with a 4-year, $96 million deal. For the fourth pick, the Oakland Raiders selected defensive end Clelin Ferrell from Clemson. This is considered one of the worst picks and worst bust in recent draft history. The 4th overall pick had 10 career sacks over his 4-year career with the Raiders, and his last 2 years he was considered a rotational player. The 49ers signed him to a 1-year deal in 2023 where he performed better but not nearly at the level a 4th overall pick should. In 17 games, he had 28 tackles, 3.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. At the 5th pick, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers selected linebacker Devin White from LSU. White has not been a letdown, but at the same time, he really hasn't shown any elite upside. He's been a non-factor most of his career, except during the Bucs' Super Bowl run. Considering the players the Bucs passed on, this pick has to be considered a semi-bust. For the 6th pick, the New York Giants selected quarterback Daniel Jones from Duke. Considering the Giants were all in on a quarterback this year, this pick panned out almost perfectly for them. After receiving a lot of hate for reaching for Jones, the Giants had a stellar 2022 season, reaching the playoffs for the first time in 6 years. And in return, Jones was awarded with a 4-year, $160 million extension. Although in 2023, his season was cut short due to a torn ACL. At the 7th pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars selected outside linebacker Josh Allen from Kentucky. Now, this one is one of the best picks of the 2019 draft. Allen has been improving every year, and he is expected to be rewarded with a big payday. In 2023, he set a Jaguars franchise record with 17.5 sacks, and back in 2022, he was top 3 in snaps played and top 5 in edge rushers to drop back into coverage. He is now regarded as one of the most dominant edge rushers in the game today. At the 8th pick, the Detroit Lions selected tight end T.J. Hawkinson from Iowa. T.J. had a rough start only due to injuries. When healthy, it was clear he was elite at his position. When traded to the Vikings in the middle of the 2022 season, he went into the top tier of tight ends with 86 receptions for 914 yards and 6 touchdowns. The Vikings rewarded him with a 4-year, $66 million contract extension, and Hawkinson did not disappoint. 2023 was his best season, with 95 receptions for 960 yards and 5 touchdowns in just 15 games. For the 9th pick, the Buffalo Bills selected defensive tackle Ed Oliver from Houston. Oliver had a rocky start to his career, with his run defense being ranked the 2nd worst in the league with a 29.7 grade back in 2020. But then in 2021 and 2022, he showcased his ability to pressure the quarterback. In those 2 years, he played 30 games and had 6.5 sacks and 28 quarterback hits. He was rewarded with a big contract extension of 4 years and $68 million. Many fans questioned the decision by the Bills, but boy, did Oliver prove the haters wrong. In 2023, he set a career best with tackles, 51, tackles for a loss, 14, sacks, 9.5, and quarterback hits, 16. At the 10th pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers selected linebacker Devin Bush from Michigan. The Steelers traded up for this pick with the Broncos, and after his rookie year, this looked like a great pick. Bush finished 3rd in Rookie Defensive Player of the Year, but then he suffered a torn ACL the following season and ever since hasn't been the same. In 2022, the Steelers ended up benching Bush due to his timid play. He actually stopped embracing contact. He played in Seattle in 2023 and only started 3 out of 13 games he played. He is now a free agent this offseason. At the 11th pick, the Cincinnati Bengals selected offensive tackle Jonah Williams from Alabama. Williams missed his entire rookie season with a shoulder injury, and the following season he missed 6 games with a knee injury. Then, in year 4, he let up the most sacks in the league and then suffered a dislocated kneecap in the playoffs. In 2023, he finished with a 59.1 overall PFF grade, good for 82nd among all NFL offensive tackles. Safe to say the Bengals missed big time on this pick. At the 12th pick, the Green Bay Packers selected defensive end Rashawn Gary from Michigan. This was a big surprise, as Packers fans were already calling him a bust before he ever stepped foot on the turf. However, Gary proved the haters wrong by having a breakout 2021 campaign with 9.5 sacks. He continued this performance in 2022 with 6 sacks through 9 games, but then suffered a torn ACL. Gary showed resilience once again and started Week 1 in 2023, just 11 months after his injury. He finished 2023 with 9 sacks and 28 quarterback hits. At the 13th pick, the Miami Dolphins selected defensive tackle Christian Wilkins from Clemson. This is one of Miami's best picks in the last decade. Wilkins is a 2-time captain for the Dolphins, and in 2023, he put up 9 sacks, 23 quarterback hits, 65 tackles, 1 forced fumble, and 2 fumble recoveries. The Dolphins currently have financial struggles, so it's unlikely they will re-sign Wilkins this offseason. But either way, Wilkins is in store for a big payday. At the 14th pick, the Atlanta Falcons selected offensive guard Chris Lindstrom from Boston College. This was a phenomenal pick by the Falcons. In 2021, he was the only offensive guard to not allow a sack, and then in 2022 was named AP All-Pro Second Team and made his first Pro Bowl. He's the leader of an offensive line that had the 3rd best rushing attack. In return, he got the biggest payday in offensive lineman history, a whopping 5-year, $105 million extension. At the 15th pick, the Washington Commanders selected quarterback Dwayne Haskins from Ohio State. First, I want to say rest in peace. A tragic accident happened, and it's appropriate to take the time to pray and hope the Haskins family is doing okay. I'm not going into details with this draft pick. I want to respect Dwayne and his family. At the 16th pick, the Carolina Panthers selected defensive end Brian Burns from Florida State. Burns is expected to receive a contract extension this offseason ranging from $25 to $30 million. I think that says enough about his talent. The last 4 seasons, he's put up 38.5 sacks, 221 tackles, 54 tackles for a loss, and 79 quarterback hits. At the 17th pick, the New York Giants selected defensive end Dexter Lawrence from Clemson. Lawrence has established himself as one of the top defensive tackles in the league. It was 2022 and 2023 where Lawrence really took off, making Pro Bowls both those years and being named to the AP All-Pro second team. The Giants rewarded Lawrence with a 4-year, $90 million extension. At the 18th pick, the Minnesota Vikings selected center Garrett Bradbury from NC State. Bradbury had a very poor first couple of years and was actually benched by the Vikings in 2021. But then in 2022, he flipped the script with having no holding penalties and only allowing 2 sacks. He then struggled in the playoffs, allowing 5 pressures and 4 quarterback hits against the Giants. But in 2023, he had his best season, ranking 11th in pass blocking and allowing the 6th fewest quarterback pressures. At the 19th pick, the Tennessee Titans selected defensive tackle Jeffrey Simmons from Mississippi State. The Titans had a great draft, and this pick was one of them. Simmons is already a 2-time second-team All-Pro and 2-time Pro Bowler. The Titans signed Simmons to a 4-year, $94 million extension. At the 20th pick, the Denver Broncos selected tight end Noah Fant from Iowa. Fant was improving year by year, showcasing 68 catches for 670 yards and 4 touchdowns in 2021. But then the Broncos shipped him out to Seattle, where his targets dropped dramatically. He's a free agent this year, and many believe he will take a leap forward into stardom if the right team signs him. At the 21st pick, the Green Bay Packers selected free safety Darnell Savage from Maryland. After a few mediocre seasons, Savage had a season to forget in 2022. In 14 games, he had no interceptions and only 2 deflected passes. He got benched sometime in November, but worked his way back into the starting lineup. He rebounded in 2023, and all eyes are now on his free agency this offseason. Will the Packers re-sign him? At the 22nd pick, the Philadelphia Eagles selected offensive tackle Andre Dillard from Washington State. Dillard was 24 years old when drafted, and things did not go well in Philadelphia. Due to injuries and poor play, he was downgraded to a backup. But then, in the 2023 offseason, the Titans signed him to a 3-year, $29 million contract, which so far looks like a bad decision. This season, he allowed 12 sacks, which was tied for the most in the league. At the 23rd pick, the Houston Texans selected offensive tackle Titus Howard from Alabama State. At the time, this was a reach for the Texans, but boy did it pay off. He made the All-Pro rookie team and since has started all 54 games he was active. He plays on both sides of the ball, offering versatility for the Texans. At the 24th pick, the Oakland Raiders selected running back Josh Jacobs from Alabama. At first, the pick looked okay for the Raiders, but then 2022 came around and Jacobs rushed for 1,653 yards, leading the NFL. Following this, he signed a 1-year, $12 million contract with the Raiders and had a good but not great year in 2023. He's a free agent this year, and who knows what team will sign him. At the 25th pick, the Baltimore Ravens selected wide receiver Marquise Brown from Oklahoma. The first wide receiver off the board has flashed signs of unlimited upside on his speed and vertical threat. However, when you look at the wide receivers the Ravens passed on, Deebo Samuel, A.J. Brown, Terry McLaurin, and D.K. Metcalf, it's clear the Ravens selected the wrong wide receiver. At the 26th pick, the Washington Commanders selected defensive end Montez Sweat from Mississippi State. Now, this pick was an absolute steal. Sweat has 35.5 career sacks, 197 tackles, 47 tackles for loss, 9 forced fumbles, and an interception. He got traded to the Bears in the middle of the 2023 season, but is a free agent now and is expected to receive a big payday sometime this offseason. At the 27th pick, the Oakland Raiders selected strong safety Jonathan Abram from Mississippi State. They got this pick from the Cowboys, and boy do they regret it big time. After missing his entire rookie season due to an injury, his sophomore year he was graded as the worst safety in the NFL. It got so bad the Raiders cut him in 2022. At the 28th pick, the Los Angeles Chargers selected defensive tackle Jerry Tillery from Notre Dame. This guy is a fraud. He was tied with Quinnen Williams for having the best pass rusher grade in college football. None of that translated to the NFL, and he was waived by the Chargers in 2022. At the 29th pick, the Seattle Seahawks selected defensive end L.J. Collier from TCU. They got this pick from the Chiefs, and many considered it a reach at the time. The consensus was right. Collier started just 16 games in his 4 seasons at Seattle and recorded just 3 sacks and 40 tackles across 45 career games. He then signed a 1-year contract with the Arizona Cardinals worth a little more than league minimum. At the 30th pick, the New York Giants selected cornerback DeAndre Baker from Georgia. His rookie season could not have been worse. He allowed 8 touchdowns and had 0 picks. The Giants dropped him, and now he plays in the UFL. At the 31st pick, the Atlanta Falcons selected offensive tackle Caleb McGarry from Washington. At first, this looked like a bad pick due to McGarry's 5th to last ranking as a right tackle his rookie year. He continued poor play his next 2 seasons, but year 4 he ranked as the 4th best offensive tackle in the league. That offseason, the Falcons signed him to a 3-year, $34.5 million deal. At the 32nd pick, the New England Patriots selected wide receiver N'Keal Harry from Arizona State. Now, this is considered one of Bill Belichick's worst draft picks. In a class filled with wide receiver talent, Bill chose to choose the worst one. Harry has 64 catches for 714 yards and 5 touchdowns in his career. Most of the 2019 wide receiver class outpaced Harry's career with their rookie season alone. At the 33rd pick, the Arizona Cardinals selected cornerback Byron Murphy from Washington. Murphy showcased tremendous upside with the Cardinals, causing the Vikings to sign him in 2023 with a 2-year, up to $22 million contract. However, this past season, he allowed a 67.3% completion rate. At the 34th pick, the Indianapolis Colts selected Rock Ya-Sin from Temple. Rock Ya-Sin has proven to be a serviceable cornerback, but has been bounced around the league, going from the Colts to the Raiders and now the Ravens. This past season, he played his lowest snap count of just 29%. At the 35th pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars selected offensive tackle Jawan Taylor from Florida. Taylor ranked as the 24th best offensive lineman going into the 2023 season, so it makes sense the Chiefs signed him to a 4-year, $80 million extension. Now, where do you think Deebo Samuel should have been drafted? Comment below.